Hello, Gary Klubitsky here with the No More Bohica podcast. I go by the nickname Biddy, aka the man on the mountain, shouting his message of love here from mountaintops in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Joining me today is my good friend Ramsey Abed, the angry Muslim, and to my left here is my good friend Bruce Drager. They call me Bruce. And on the phone, joining us from beautiful Forest Lake, Minnesota, is Peter the Poobah Capoletti, who's fishing for answers for us. Pete, go ahead and say hi to the folks.
Hi, folks.
All right. So that's Pete's voice. And we're going to talk about what No More Bohica means. And as you can see, we have our own email address, nomorebohica@gmail.com. And if you have any comments or questions or things that you'd like us to discuss on our podcast, please email us at nomorebohica@gmail.com. And if we read your email on air, we will send you an autographed copy of my book, Biddy Code, Together We Stand, Divided We Fall, and a t-shirt, either a Gladiator for Good t-shirt, or when we get them back in stock in the future, some No More Bohica t-shirts. So, military acronyms. What does Bohica mean? Well, the best way I could describe it is this. There's a movie called Animal House, which is really popular amongst people in my generation. And in the movie, an actor by the name of Kevin Bacon is pledging himself to the preppy fraternity. And as part of the hazing, poor Kevin has to get down on all fours and get paddled from behind by the big meanie Niedermeyer and say, "Thank you, sir, may I have another? Thank you, sir, may I have another?" And so that is what Bohica means. It means bend over, here it comes again. And the way it came into play in my life is last election, I decided that I wasn't happy with either political party. Neither one of them, I'm not a bigot, so I really couldn't vote Republican, and I'm not crazy way out on the left either, so I couldn't really vote for a Democrat. So I decided to vote for myself. And I formed my own political party called the No More Bohica Political Party. And the way I describe it is this. Think of the American public as Kevin Bacon, and Niedermeyer, the big meanie with the paddle, is like the American government, paddling us into submission. And that is the meaning of No More Bohica. And so it was meant to be funny, but we're going to use it to be funny and to be serious. There are two main focuses that we will talk about on our show. One of them is PTSD. I have PTSD, and I'm going to talk about it a lot. We're going to bring on guests that have PTSD. It's going to be one of our favorite topics. Another of our favorite topics that we really want to hear about your questions, comments, concerns is the issue of autism in America. I have an autistic daughter. She's a wonderful human being, and I have a lot to say about autism, and I'm really glad to see that there's at least a few people in our government actually paying attention to it now. So we're going to talk about that and how much Bohica is involved in the world of autism and the way the autism rates are increasing exponentially with no end in sight, and our government sits by and twiddles their thumbs and wonders, what do we have to do with it? Well, maybe if we hadn't have destroyed all our antitrust laws, and maybe if we hadn't have taken pharmaceutical companies off the hook and made them unaccountable for their mistakes back in 1986, maybe our autism rates wouldn't be so astronomically high. Just to give you some brief history, in 1960, at the dawn of the pharmaceutical age, the autism rate in the United States was 1 in 4,000 babies. Okay, a year and a half ago, when I published my book, the autism rate in the United States was 1 in 36 babies. Do you guys understand math?
There's no excuse. There's no excuse for that, Biddy.
There isn't. I mean, think about it. 1 in 4,000 versus 1 in 36. It's like night and day. It's a huge problem, and our country just turns a blind eye to it. I mean, how do you guys feel about it? What do you think, Ramsey?
Yeah, I think something's fishy for sure.
Right on.
Something's going on.
And Bruce, you got any?
I would just say, did they track it the same way or not? Either way, that number is way too far off to be just a rounding, or we've decided to include a few more people. That number has increased, as you said, so exponentially that it can't be just the tracking.
Right. And, there is that school of thought that we have become better at identifying autism, and because of that, our autism rate's gone up. But, that's like saying that we become better at football, and the NFL is better at playing football now than they were 30, 40 years ago, which personally I think that's silly, because football was just as great back then as it is now. And even though the rules have changed, it's still the same game, okay? So we want to hear about you. What you have to say about autism. What are your questions? What would you like us to discuss? What do you think is Bohica? What do you think is misinformation? I'll give you a classic piece of information that's been going on since the 90s when it comes to autism. Back in the 90s, before my children were born, I had a doctor sit me down and tell me, do not immunize your children. And I said, why? And he said, there's a school of thought and argument out there that these immunizations have nothing to do with autism, but I'm here to tell you that they have everything to do with it. And so I said, well, explain it to me. So where the disconnect is every time somebody brings up immunizations, the doctors are like, oh, the immunization's not bad for you. And maybe that's true, okay? But what they're not addressing, and I've been talking about this since the 90s, is that the preservatives that these immunizations are stored in, if you look at the ingredients in these preservatives that the immunizations are stored in, they're the same ingredients that we use to make formaldehyde. So when you're immunizing your babies, at least in the past, you were pumping formaldehyde into the babies and wondering why they're having all these reactions after they get their shots and why they become autistic. Another issue that I think isn't addressed.
Gary,
yes, sir.
I've got a question for you.
Fire away.
Do you think that today in 2025 you would get the same warning? Do you think it's as likely that you would get the same warning from a physician today in the doctor's office?
Probably not. And the doctor that warned me in the 90s is a good friend of mine. It's Murph. We went to college with him. You know Murph.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, yeah.
He
won't steer you wrong.
He's brilliant. Yeah. And in any case, I chose not to immunize my children, at least my first two, back in the day, and for better or worse. I mean, I figured if when they get older and their bodies can handle whatever junk we're putting in them, then they can get their immunizations. So they've had them now, but not as little babies. But that was my personal decision based on what I had been taught, okay? So the real disconnect that I'm pointing out here is the fact that you have the medical industry saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with immunizations. And maybe they're correct, maybe they're not. I think that's open to debate. However, what they're not addressing is the preservatives that they store these immunizations in. And some of these immunizations, I don't know if they're using them in our country, but they're definitely using them in third world countries, were created back in the 60s and 70s, in the 70s and 80s. And so they've been sitting there in this old preservative stuff, and we wonder why it's creating problems for our children, okay? And I don't even want to get into the fact that, putting children on psych drugs is a huge mistake. The human brain is not fully formed until you're 25 years old. Okay, that is a scientific fact. Our brains are not fully formed until we're 25 years old. Let that sink in. So when you as a parent, when you give your kid Ritalin, when you give your kid any type of psych drug at all, before the age of 25, you risk permanently affecting their brain for the rest of their life. And that is a scientific fact you cannot avoid. It is a dirty little secret that nobody wants to talk about, but it's a fact, okay? So before I get rolling on that, we'll save that for another day, and I'd like to hear what your comments and questions and concerns are along those lines. Please email us at nomorebohica@gmail.com and get a book, get a t-shirt, tell us what you think. Do you love us? Do you hate us? We want to hear about it. So, if you don't mind, I would like to talk about my PTSD. We're going to talk a lot about PTSD. Let me give you the basics. Actually, let me give you a story that'll help you understand how PTSD can affect people. Okay? So, short story is this. I published a book a year and a half ago. I've gotten calls from dozens of publishers. Okay? I decided to hook up with a second publisher that we'll call BA. Okay? Not bad attitude, more like big asswipe, or as Steve Martin would say, the big aswipe. So, is it cool if we refer to BA as the big aswipe? Everyone okay with that?
Aswipe?
Aswipe, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's good. We're all parents, so Aswipe's in. So here's what happened. I decided to hire the big Aswipe to put me in some book fairs, and I developed a relationship with them, and they kept working me for money for this and for that. And I won't go into all the little details, but they're very shady. Okay, so I developed a good relationship with my rep there, and basically they hit me out of the blue with, "Hey, there's a movie producer interested in your book." And then I get this call from a movie producer from 5 More Minutes production company. And I Googled them. They're a $5 million production company. They've produced some movies. They seemed legit. This guy seemed legit. He sure had me excited. And so he says, "We want to make a movie out of your book, and we're going to pay you $600,000 to do it." And so I was like, wow, that's pretty cool, considering I'm basically poor and I have PTSD and I make enough money to survive. That'd be great. I could take care of my kids and my family, right? So then he says, well, look, we need you to do this promotional video for the directors, so we can search for a director. We need you to create a promotional video, and your publisher, this company that's representing you as your, I forget what they use, but representative, we'll call it, is going to do this video for you. And I'm like, okay. So then I get on the phone with them, and they want $3,500. And I'm like, $3,500 for video? I just created tons of videos for less than half that. And I thought I was overpaying for those. But in any case, I have a $3,500 video. You can see it on YouTube. And then you'll know who the big Aswipe is. But in any case, I did the video. That was all fine and dandy. So I'm waiting on my contract. And a month later, I get another call from the guy. And he's like, hey, everything's going great. And
we just need one more video for $3,500.
It was almost that bad, Poopa. It was no. They're like, well, you have a conflict of interest because we don't want you to have 2 publishers. We want you to only publish with the big Aswipe. And I said, well, no. I have a relationship with Kennel Dog Poo, and I want to maintain my relationship with Kennel Dog Poo. And, you know, the big Aswipe can publish my book too if they want, but I'm not going to cut out my other publisher, even though they may not like their nickname. So in any case, they convinced me to pay $1,000 so they could publish my book. So I was like, okay, I can handle $1,000 if I got 600 coming in. You know, that's simple math, right?
They wouldn't take it out of the 600?
No, it doesn't work like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that would make too much sense, Bruce. That would mean it was legit. Okay, but they had me completely buffaloed, and I'm not easy to buffalo, you know. So it gets better. Another month goes by, and this producer calls me up, and he says, okay, he says, everything's going great. We've selected a director, and now we need a script. He says, you need to pay somebody to write a script for you. And I'm like, time out. Hold on. So
wait, currently they owe you $604,500. Keep going.
Right, something like that. I love your math, Pooba. And so anyways, I'm like, time out. You want me to pay to have a script written. I'm like, how much is that going to be? Well, I'll talk to your publisher, the Big Oswego. So I did. I call up the Big Oswego and I say, hey man, what's going on? Why didn't you guys tell me this 2 months ago? I could have wrote a script in 2 months and had it finished by now. But now you're telling me I got to have one in 30 days, last minute, and how much is that going to cost me? They're like, well, it normally costs like 60 to 80,000, sometimes 100,000, but we can do it for you for $20,000. And I'm like,
what a deal!
I'm like, what? I was like, I had to scrape myself off the frickin' ceiling when I heard that. Oh my God, I blew a gasket. Look, I have PTSD, man, and we're gonna get into that, but you don't lie to people with PTSD. That's a big mistake, okay? A big mistake. Now, I'm not gonna go violent on you if you lie to me, but I will tear you a new A with my words and my actions, non-violent, of course. However, I can't speak for anyone else with PTSD. I can tell you that if you lie to people with PTSD, you are playing with fire and you are making a big mistake. And that is especially true with the Big Oswego. So I basically told them to, I can't use that language. I told them off, okay, in a very mortgage type professional way, if that makes sense to people. Or like a construction worker uses a lot of language like that, mortgage workers. I think every worker uses that kind of language. As a matter of fact, I've never met a worker that didn't. However, I'm not going to say that on this show. I let them have it. I blew up at them. And then I couldn't get their management to return any of my phone calls. And then they never even published my book. And so about 2 weeks before Christmas, it hits me like a ton of bricks. You know, I'm on cloud 9 for 2 months, and then I'm on getting my guts turned inside out for 2 weeks, and then I realized that even though I'd already known it for 2 weeks, I realized that I'm getting scammed and I got to pull back on this. And so I went from cloud 9 to serious depression. See, when you have PTSD, you always have anxiety, okay? It's a big part of what I call the 3 A's, anxiety, apathy, and anger, okay? So your anxiety is always there. It never goes away. And what happens is when people rub your anxiety too hard, it can turn into depression. And when it turns into depression, think of, like with my PTSD, it's like I go into a shell, like a turtle. Like my head, my arms, my legs, they all hide in the shell. I just want to hide. I don't want to deal with anybody. I don't want to deal with life. I don't even talk to my friends. I barely talk to my wife. I do put on a happy face and fake it till I make it when I'm around my kids, because I don't want to put them through anything like that. It's not their issue that their father has PTSD, But I went into my shell for a good 7 months after that, and I was ready to walk away from my book, walk away from my message, walk away from everything, because the amount of stress for somebody like me that has PTSD to be lied to and taken advantage of and have my hopes and dreams toyed with by scam artists that are just trying to bleed me dry, and take advantage of my hopes and dreams to get my money. That is.
So what about the first publisher? Didn't they kind of warn you, or?
Kennel Dog Poo, yeah, they're okay. They're kind of shady. They got a lot of poop in their kennel. Hopefully they'll clean it out and get their shit together. That's all I can say about them. But they're certainly not the big ass Weepay. I'm still connected to them. In the future we might get into it, because I got plenty to say someday if I need to. It's been a very rocky road with them as well. However, there are at least one good person there that I enjoy talking to, so I haven't cut the cord yet. But I could be shopping for a new publisher by Christmas. We'll see.
So Gary, is your book available on Amazon right now?
It sure is. Sure is.
It is.
Yeah.
And what's the title?
It's Biddy Code, Together We Stand, Divided We Fall. It's available on Amazon and in finer bookstores right now, just on the East Coast.
Okay. Well, I've got a suggestion for the podcast. Maybe moving forward,
Sure.
Biddy, the author, just read a short passage maybe out of your book that has something to do with what we'll be talking about. It'd be a good way to get us started.
Yeah, you know what? Next episode, when we talk about autism, I'll read the passage I wrote about autism, which I thought was pretty spot on. I probably should have done that on this episode. And speaking of which, Puba, when can we bring your friend on that has PTSD?
Well, that's completely up to my friend. The negotiations are in progress.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought we'd first have this kickoff episode.
Yeah.
And get really famous after this first episode.
That's
and
right.
then, he'd probably be begging to come on, and as would lots of other famous people. So, yes, I think we all know some people that will be valuable assets to the podcast moving forward.
That's fantastic. So I want to throw out a little more information about PTSD before we move on. So I have what I call my PTSD line, okay? Or for those of you that don't understand a PTSD line, think of it as the integrity line. If you step over the integrity line with me, my PTSD line, and you lie to me, or you play games with me, or you try to give me half-truths, I can get really upset. And I could snap and go on some serious rants. And there's probably going to come a day where it happens on this podcast. I ranted a little bit about the Big Oswego. Truthfully, I had written out about 6 pages, but then I realized it was too much. And I didn't want to go on a super huge rant on our first podcast, But that said, if you cross my PTSD line, 2 things can happen, generally speaking. I either hide in my shell because I don't want to deal with it, or just like a snapping turtle, man, my head comes out and bam, and I bite, and I'm like, Urgh! And I let you know. I either get really angry if you cross my line, my integrity line, my PTSD line. I'll get really angry, or I'll never speak to you again, and I'll just go into my shell and shut you out of my life, because I don't deal with dishonest people very well, which is why I'm having some serious trouble with our government. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I got some serious examples of Bohica going on in our government that I want to talk about right now, if that's okay. I want to switch the topic to this. My buddy Ramsey, the angry Muslim, he's really good about keeping me educated on world news. So last May, I was over at his house, hanging out, just talking, and he's like, "Hey, I want to show you something on the news." So I'm like, "Okay, let's see it." So he flips on the European news, a fellow by the name of Graham Nash. I think this was last May or last June, and Graham is talking about how all these countries around the world are trying to get aid into the Arab Israelis, and Israel's blocking the aid, and they're not letting it in, and the UN is complaining about it, and it's just a mess, right? And these people are starving. There's countries that want to give them food, but the food's not getting through the blockade, okay? And these people are starving. I think the latest number I've heard, and don't expect me to be 100% accurate on this, but the latest number that I've heard bandied around is that there's 700,000 missing or presumed dead innocent people in that region of the world, which, if you know what the population is in Gaza, that is 1/3 of the population, okay, gone. And to me, that's some serious Bohica. So we're going to talk about a couple things here. Number one, the American media is lying to us, okay? I witnessed it myself just a month ago.
I don't believe you.
Oh, come on, Poobah. You know it's true.
I don't believe you.
So, I'm at the gym working out, right, on the treadmill. Now, I usually watch the History Channel. I like watching, stuff that's interesting. And I generally don't watch the news because it's depressing. All my buddies watch the news, and I get all the news from each one of my buddies, and they all give me a different perspective. And if I really want to investigate something, I investigate it myself, okay? So I'm sitting there on the treadmill, and on the screen on Fox News flashes, Israeli conflict, breaking news, and they're all excited, and they bring on this reporter, right? And he seemed like a Zionist, but that's all I'm going to say about that. And this guy is trying to sell the American public this, okay? He's saying that Israel is the only country in the world to provide aid to enemy combatants in the history of man. So number one, he's trying to sell us that. Okay, number two, he says Israel is the only country supplying aid to these refugees. No one else is providing aid. And I'm sitting there going, oh my God, you're actually saying this on public TV, okay, on Fox News, okay? And I'm not saying CNN or anything's any better. They're all liars. They're all not telling us the truth. They're all completely ignoring what's going on and trying to sell us this propaganda as if we're living in the world of the Gestapo again. You know? I mean, since when did our press think it was okay to lie to the American public? I mean, I'm sick of it. Okay?
Well, hang on. Is it a lie if Israel's the only country letting food in, this other food isn't getting in? So technically, they're the only country.
Where are they getting this aid from? Who is supplying
Oh,
this
that's a
aid?
great question. Okay, first of all, a half-truth is still a lie, okay? So if you want to speak in half-truths and pretend that you're somewhat being honest, all I can say is read between the lines, okay? This is the Boy Scout salute. It says, read between the lines and quit lying to me, okay? And I don't want to take it anymore. I just can't, you know. And
No more Bohica.
no more
No
Bohica.
more Bohica.
No more Bohica, man. And
So, Gary, I got, one
Well-
thing, I guess we can scratch the ADL off of potential sponsors for the podcast.
yeah, we'll have to scratch them off.
That's okay, they can keep their money, but go ahead, keep going.
All right. So in our media, that was good. Our media, our mainstream media is a joke. Okay. I watched John Oliver. I don't know, a month and a half ago or whatever. Episode 19.
Why?
Oh, he's awesome. Episode 19. He's one of the few people on air that's actually telling the truth about what's going on in the Middle East. I would challenge anybody to watch episode 19, the first 5 minutes, and you'll get a full dose of everything I'm not saying, because I don't want to irritate the Zionist press, okay? And for the record, I love Jewish people, okay? I love all people. I love Muslim people. I love Christian people. I'm a Christian. I love all human beings, okay? If we don't figure out how to come together and respect our differences and learn how to overcome these lines of hatred that are all over our world, then we will fail. And
So you mean united we stand, divided we fall?
No, together we stand, divided
That's
we
what I
fall.
meant.
Together we stand, not united. That never works. Okay, if you read my book and you check out what I said about my vision, if we try to unite everybody under one banner, one government, one anything, one religion, we fail. Okay, that's not going to work. People are too different. We need to maintain our differences. We need to respect our differences. It's our differences that make us great. And this is something that I really want to hammer home, and we're going to talk about this as much as possible in every podcast. Let's talk about natural resources, okay? Our government cares about fossil fuels. Our citizens care about the air that we breathe. That's a natural resource, one that we abuse, okay? To me, the most important natural resource in the entire planet Earth is the human brain, okay? The human brain is what is going to evolve and help us survive whatever's coming down the pipe in the future. If you're a really hardcore right-wing Christian and you're into Revelations, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about there. But every civilization since the dawn of man has had some type of doomsday prophecy. Okay, so and in my vision, I saw that that could actually happen, and we could also survive. But the only way we survive is if we come together and learn to respect our differences. Okay. So in my book, I published my theory of multidimensional thinking. All right, and I get a lot of people saying I don't get it. It's too complicated. When to me, it's like super simple. But let me try to break it down for you as best I can. We as human beings have been trained to be linear thinkers from birth. Not only in this age, but for the last tens of thousands of years, we have been trained to be linear thinkers, okay? And let me give you some examples. Left, right, forward, backward.
What does linear mean?
Linear means you think in absolutes, and you're only capable of thinking in one or two directions. Here's a good one. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I'm right, and you're wrong. As a matter of fact, I'm right, and everyone else is wrong. That's how a linear thinker thinks, okay? Because they think in absolutes. They have to be right, and the other people have to be wrong. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to them. And that's because they have small little brains, like little peas that roll around in their head, right? And so we used to have a college roommate like that. We used to call him a pea brain. And every time we wanted him to think about something different, we just kind of mentally give him a little upside the head, get his little pea rolling, so he could be thinking in a new direction. And it worked every time, like a charm, like clockwork, okay? But we are conditioned as human beings to be linear thinkers. That's all we know, okay? And haters are the most extreme linear thinkers, the most extreme absolutionists. They only talk about it in absolutes. It's their way or the highway. And that's not the way life is, okay? God didn't create one segment of humanity over another. That is a fallacy. It's absolutely false. And to think that way is a grand desire. Well, I can't even say the word. It's crazy.
It sounds like something the Germans did. Didn't the Germans?
Yeah.
Didn't the Germans think the same way?
Yeah, they were the chosen people, right? Or what kind of people? The Aryan race or whatever the heck they were?
The superior race. Other people think they're the chosen people. Other people think they're the this or that.
So, all right, look, if we're going to get into that type of thing, then I could say that every Viking fan on planet Earth is cooler than everybody else. Except for the Denver Bronco fans who are equally as cool. But if you're not a fan of the Vikings or the Broncos, then clearly you do not belong on this planet. There ought to be an island for the other 30 teams' fans. You know, they can ride that party boat that we see on TV now, the new ad, out to this island where all the fans from all the other teams could be, especially the Packer fans, and all the Viking fans and Denver fans could populate the earth, and we'd have world peace because everybody knows that they're the coolest fans on planet Earth. At least that's my opinion. But, you know, I mean, let's face it. Every human being on planet Earth is created equal in the eyes of God. Every single human being.
Absolutely.
And we are all trained from birth to be linear thinkers. And we have been for several thousands of years, I think tens of thousands of years. So that's my opinion, based on what I see in the world today. What my theory is being able to take this linear thought pattern and add another linear thought pattern. Only now, instead of I'm right, you're wrong, the linear thought pattern should be you're right, I'm wrong. And get these two linear thought patterns going simultaneously. If you can just do that, you're light years ahead of every bigot and racist on planet Earth that can't think past their own nose. Okay? Another way I like to describe it is this. If you can hold multiple thoughts in your brain, you're creating much more space in your brain for original thought and new ideas. Think of it like this. If you're just a linear thinker, I'm right, you're wrong. You're just a linear thinker. Democrat, Republican. Neither of you are right or wrong. Okay? Oh, wait a minute. That's a third thought. Democrat, Republican. Neither of you are right or wrong. Connect those three dots, what do we have? We have a triangle. Okay, that is a two-dimensional space. You have just graduated from a one-dimensional thinker to a two-dimensional thinker just by simply adding a third thought to your thought process. Okay? It could be as simple as, I'm right, you're wrong. Maybe we're both right. Maybe we're both wrong. That's an even bigger two-dimensional space. Now, let's take it one step further. I'm right, you're wrong. Maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe you're right. Who knows? We have those four thoughts. Let's add a fifth thought. What if nobody's right and nobody's wrong? Now, we got these 4 points connected here plus the fifth. Look at this huge three-dimensional space you have in your brain. Oh,
We lost Pooba, he's back.
hey, Poobah.
Technical difficulties.
Hey, first episode.
You just totally trashed my three-dimensional speech. But in any case,
It was the Vikings talking.
yeah, I think of the Viking thing. But the more thought lines you can create in your brain simultaneously, the greater the space. And you work your way from a one-dimensional thinker to a two-dimensional thinker to a three-dimensional thinker, with all this space in your brain for new ideas, for new thoughts, for new creativity, for new discoveries. Okay. We have to evolve if we want to survive what's coming down the pipe, whether it be 500 years from now, 2,000, 5,000 years from now, whatever it is. If we continue down the path and slaughter innocent people and kill brains that could eventually be the brain that saves humanity, I mean, we are doing it we are killing ourselves. We are destroying our own hope. And it's because our governments care more about money and fossil fuels than they do about humanity and human brains. They care.
I would offer that that's been going on since the beginning of time.
And I think you're right. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. I mean, when they uncovered the ruins at Pompeii, they found 95% of the city's wealth underneath the temples of worship, which means 95% of that city's wealth was owned by one person. Okay? Now, we live in a day and age where over 99% of the world's wealth is controlled by less than 1% of the population. Okay? Things are moving the wrong direction. Think of it like this. You have God, right? And you have the anti-God, which is money. Money isn't good or evil. It's just money. Okay? And God is God, right? And what I see in the world today is you have more people that worship money than you have that worship God. And there are tons of people that pay lip service to worshiping God of all religions. But in my opinion, based on my observations, what I see them doing is worshiping money. They care more about money than they do about God. And as this equation keeps moving farther and farther apart, we keep moving closer and closer to this quote-unquote Armageddon. And when money and God get too far apart, that's when everything falls apart. Okay? So we need more people like Oprah Winfrey. We need more people to bring money and God back together. I mean, Oprah, she donates 50% of her income to charity. She is a hero to people like me. I could care less. Yes, I could care less about her political views or all the reasons that you may or may not like her. I love her because she is setting an example for the rest of the world to follow. Most of the rich people aren't paying attention and follow it. I mean, they have their foundations and their charities, but you know, are they giving 50% like Oprah? Imagine if everyone in the world gave 50% of their earnings to helping their fellow man in need. Okay,
Isn't that what we do with Israel all the time?
Well, yeah, that's a good one.
Tithing that's a little bit of the
Yeah,
concept.
yeah. I see. I'm not into tithing. I'll gladly donate to my church, but don't tell me I have to go to heaven, because that is not
Well,
true.
that's a prosperity gospel. That's different from tithing, but
Yeah,
on the same lines.
yeah. So, geez, we've got so many thoughts going on.
I thought he was the angry one.
He is. He is the angry one. Oh, I know what it is. So we have this conflict going on there, and there's these innocent lives being lost. So this is my perspective on it. This is what I see as an American, okay? First of all, I'm 59 years old. I have watched this go on for the last 4 decades. This isn't anything new to me. I have watched the wholesale slaughter of innocents on both sides. Okay, what happened on October 2023 with 1,200 people slain was a horrible tragedy. There's no excuse for it, and it's absolutely wrong. But what's happening now is equally wrong, if not more wrong. It's just morally irreprehensible. And in our country, we are immune to it. I mean, our own government, 150 years ago, slaughtered 2.5 million innocent people so we could take their land. And as an American public was okay with that, all right? In just like they're okay, like the American public is okay with the corruption we have in our government now. And they seem to be completely blind to the death of innocent lives overseas. I mean, we'll have a conniption if a few people get killed here, but with 700,000 people end up disappearing and slain for nefarious reasons by a fascist government, we just don't care. I mean, John Oliver cared, and I appreciate him for that. As a matter of fact, and the other guy that I noticed has cared is Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has had plenty of speakers on talking about it and trying to educate the American public on what our press is not willing to tell us.
We should try to get him on the podcast.
Yeah, it would be awesome.
He hasn't returned the email.
Well, we haven't sent him an email yet, so maybe if we actually reach out to him, he'll get back to us. You never know. But here's another piece of bad media. A year and a half, about a little over a year ago, last summer, I was watching TV with Ramsey over at his house, and I was watching this show about an American Arab-Israeli reporter who was going into Gaza to look for her family to see if they're still alive. And she was being escorted by retired soldiers from the Israeli military, okay? And these soldiers were speaking out against their government. They were saying, look, we have been subjected to anti-Arab propaganda since we were little kids. We were brainwashed into thinking that these are evil people and that we need to get rid of them, okay? And these are retired Israeli soldiers speaking out against their government, talking about atrocities that they've committed and seen committed. And the fact that they've spent their whole lives being brainwashed with their government's propaganda. Let that word sink in. Propaganda. Okay? The word propaganda, for those of you that don't know what it means false information to mislead the public into thinking that some type of nefarious evil activity is okay. That's propaganda. That's Biddy's definition of propaganda. So what do you guys think about propaganda?
Yeah, I think definitely there's an agenda going on here. They're steering us in a particular direction. They're definitely writing the narrative for us.
What do you think, Bruce?
I think I grew up in small town North Dakota. We had very, very little contact or communication with any other race, any other,
Right.
any people except white Germans and Russians in North Dakota. And we were kind of taught with some of the games on the playground and some of the things that were said that there was, a whole different culture of people, African American, Asian, whatever, and we were kind of propagandized a little bit to say, hey, what? Cross the street, do this, do that. Today, we're doing the same with Republicans and Democrats. Kids growing up in a Republican home are now being told, because of very recent events, that the Democrats are the bad people. Kids growing up in a Democratic a house that maybe supports the Democrats are being told that the Republicans are the bad people. You said earlier it's about humans.
Right.
Humans on this planet and America, United States Americans in this country. But why are we being told that they're bad? Why is it they? Who is they? That question's come up on several shows. Who are they? Aren't we they?
Right.
Are we all?
I think we are they. Okay, all of us are they, and that includes every human being on planet Earth. We're all they, right? And so.
There's a different day.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's clear to me that our government is owned by big money, that our government is corrupt, and you don't need me to tell you that. I mean, you can watch just about any talking head on TV, and they'll point out corruption on one side or the other. And since there's so much on both sides, it's just hard to keep track of it. You know, it's like playing paintball and saying you got to get hit 10 times before you're out. Well, eventually you're all covered with paint. How can you tell, right? And that's probably a bad analogy, but
why is it so? Why are we so enamored with anything political? Like years and years ago, I couldn't even tell you what the president was doing in the last 3 months. We didn't pay attention to date. Now it's like instant live.
We've degenerated.
Somebody in the government said something.
I think we're tight.
Why do we're really?
Tight. We're starting now to count pennies. The accounting now. Everybody's tight. So now we're looking for
that creates people being somewhat desperate.
Now we're more cautious.
Some
Now
desperation.
everybody's
trying to blame somebody.
right. That river of money has stopped. Now it's all funneling in. Well, Congress, you know, our debt keeps growing, but all they do is print money and hand it to each other in Congress.
Yeah, and give it to foreign countries instead of
One foreign
fixing
country.
our roads.
Well, mostly one for
Two foreign countries.
I mean,
Two foreign
they're
countries.
taxing people like Poobah 50%, and then they're sending tens of billions of dollars over to the Middle East. What, to slay innocent people? What, we didn't get enough of it in our country 150 years ago? And speaking of which, what WTF is going on with the Capitol? I mean,
the ballroom.
We watched for decades as the American Indians protested the name of the Redskins, and it took them decades to get rid of that name, and now they want to bring it back. It's like, you want us to be bigots now? That's what you're teaching us to do as our government? You want us to be bigots and start making fun of Native Americans and calling them Redskins again? I mean, that is pathetic. That is pathetic, okay? And that's why I can't be a Republican, nor can I be a Democrat. I'm not a bigot, so I can't be a Republican. And I'm not willing to use the taxpayers' money for stuff that people should maybe not use the taxpayers' money for.
Well, that's both parties, but yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's the issue of all the money going overseas, and it's not just one country. And what's sad about it is we're propping up governments that are fascist, okay? And I think we're immune to the death in our country because of our own past history. I think we need to own our past history. We need to own it. We need to realize that our country, our government, thought it was acceptable to slay 2.5 million human beings 150 years ago, okay? And because of that, I think Americans are immune to death, all right? When 2.5 million people got slaughtered in Somalia a decade and a half ago, a couple people cried about it in the press. For me, it was one of the most depressing moments of my life, those 6 months. I couldn't believe that the whole world would just stand by and let these innocent people be slaughtered. You know, we jumped into Bosnia and protected the Albanians. When 80,000 people got gassed in Iraq, we jumped right in there to take their oil, right?
Well, we had to protect the poppy fields, Gary.
Oh, the poppy fields, right, yeah, that too. But when 2.5 million people got slain in Sudan or Ethiopia or whatever it was, nobody cared, all right?
They don't have oil.
They don't have oil, I guess. But you know what? The problem is our definition of what the most important natural resources are. So my definition is it's the human brain. Your definition is whatever your definition is. But I can tell you this, if we continue to kill innocent people, we are sealing our own death warrant because we risk killing the brain that could produce the brain that saves us someday. Because it's going to be somebody's idea that saves us when the time comes. And we need to preserve as much life as we can in order to succeed when our time
Is
comes.
it Connor? We gotta save James Connor? Who's the Connor from Terminator?
Oh, John Connor.
We gotta save John.
We gotta
Connor.
save John Connor.
I didn't see Terminator.
If John Connor's brain gets blown up, the Terminators win, and we lose, and we become extinct as a race in the movie. Okay.
I'll be back.
All right. So
Well, hey, what you said about, I just want to ask you, Ramsey. So Netanyahu said when he was criticized for going after some people in Qatar,
Right, the Hamas middle
leadership that were there to have a leadership meeting or a peace
people.
meeting.
Right, the
But
negotiation.
he justified it by saying, we went after Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. So that justified his actions. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, he's been trying to relate to us a lot. The difference is we funded and we send our boys to die on our own mission. We don't need Guatemala to send us to Venezuela so that American boys can go die in Venezuela for the Guatemalans. So Netanyahu's message basically was these people were of no relevant importance. It just made our president look like a clown because we bombed a hotel that had people we summoned. So this is a problem now we're having with this con artist we call Donald Trump. It's the same thing he did with Iran. He invited them over. He said, we're going to have peace talks. And then, he pulled a stunt on them. And they said, guys, the United States is bigger than that. And now we've lost that. The Russians are laughing at us. Putin doesn't buy a single word from us. We're not worth.
So I got to interrupt. I'm not willing to go out on that limb and say that Don is a con artist. He's our president, and we got to respect him.
Well, maybe okay, you're right. Maybe he wasn't aware of it.
We don't have to agree with everything he says.
He wasn't
and
aware
does.
of it.
I personally don't agree with everything he says and does. I'm really upset that he wants to change the commander's name back to the Redskins. And that really bothers me because that is bigotry. And, I voted for Trump in 2016 because I wanted to see some changes in our government. I felt like our government was totally corrupt back then, and Trump, was going to clean things up, and he was somebody different, not part of the status quo, a ray of hope maybe in a sea of darkness and corruption, okay? That's what I thought in 2016.
That's what a lot of people thought.
So then he gets elected, and what happens? Well, the racists come out of the woodwork, and they're marching everywhere and protesting, and I'm like, what the heck? I mean, did we just flash back to 1938? What is going on here? And
Gary, I'm sorry, I need an example.
well, how about the one in South Carolina, or was it North Carolina, where the neo-Nazis were marching, and the one dude drove his car through them and killed some people, and
That's unfortunately, but it happened more than once.
yeah. So there's lots of examples.
How about this one? How about the Utah governor, when they were looking for the Charlie Kirk shooter, he says, I was hoping, he basically didn't say it's a non-white Christian, but he basically said, I was hoping it would be somebody else.
from another country.
somebody from a
from a different state.
well,
from
the FBI
Colorado.
director,
Somebody
Indian,
from Colorado.
Indian is standing right next to him. He goes, I was hoping.
For God's sake, so let it be a white guy. Is that what he was saying?
Yes.
Basically, that's what
he
he
said it out loud to him.
He said,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
it's real.
I mean, you can
upsetting.
think those things, and everybody does think those things, but do you say them out loud?
Yeah, like,
I've had about enough of that guy. What's his name? Governor? What's his face?
No, I have no idea.
In Utah?
oh, wow, it's Utah. I mean,
That's a whole nother show, Mormon Gold.
yeah.
I just thought it was funny with the FBI director. He's as Indian as, you know.
Right,
Listen.
he was hoping it was a...
Mormons are people too, and I love
He was
Mormons too.
Absolutely.
I love all human beings.
Mormon housewives.
I don't care if you're gay. I don't care if you're transgender. I don't care if you're a lesbian. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're red. I don't care if you're yellow. I don't care if you're green. I don't care if you're blue. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. I don't care if you're Jewish. I don't care if you're Arab. I don't care if you're Muslim. I don't care if you're Christian. I don't care if you're Hindu. I don't care if you're Buddhist. I don't care. What I do care about is hopefully teaching people how to come together so that we can survive in the future. Because, you know, everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a message of love. Everybody wants world peace. Almost everybody. Okay? Except for...
there might be some evil forces that
Well,
don't, but go on.
it's pretty clear that big money doesn't want world peace.
If you
because
produce weapons, you're not a big
big,
fan of
big money wants what we have so they can make more big money, and at the expense of the innocent people of our planet. And so I personally, I wrote my book. I'm starting my podcast. My name is Biddy, and in my book I wrote a story called The Man on the Mountain. And I realized over time that the man on the mountain is me. And I'm going to be shouting my message of love from now until the day I die. And my hope is that other people will lead by example too and start shouting their message of love from their mountaintops. Our mountaintop is this podcast, and we want your feedback. We want to know what you have to say about what we have to say. Whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whether you agree or whether you disagree. If you have things that you would like us to discuss, particularly things related to autism or PTSD, two of our favorite topics, we want to hear about it. And if you're kind enough to send us your feedback and we mention you on our show, we will send you an autographed copy of my book and one of these Gladiator for Good t-shirts. And in the future, we'll have No More Bohica t-shirts with the man on the mountain on the back. This particular t-shirt is an election t-shirt, Biddy for President. We're going to have to put it on ice for about 3 years. But in about 3 years, I'll run as a write-in candidate again. And we'll have lots to say about the No More Bohica political party. Okay? But this show isn't just about politics. It's about love. Okay? And I want to hear what your message of love is. I want you to email me and tell me what your message is so we can add your message of love to our message of love. And by joining as many messages of love as we can find the world over, we can help bring humanity together as one. Together, not united, together. Because together we stand, divided we fall. Got that? Together we stand, divided we fall. God bless you all. Have a wonderful evening. See ya.
Amen, brother.